Bitcoin or precious metals? Bitcoin or gold and silver? Should we Bitcoin or should we not Bitcoin? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video.
But if you decide that you want to preserve your privacy and make sure all the data that goes in and out of your computer is encrypted, then check out NordVPN. My affiliate link will give you something like a 2/3 discount on some of their packages.
The world has failed, I tell you. The world has failed yet again.
Hi everybody, it's Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. And it has been a while since I did a video on cryptocurrency, but I do got to remind myself I did start out as Crypto Rich in April 2017. And if you've been with me since then, thank you so much. And if you haven't, well, welcome. Please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Crypto Rich YT, join my official Telegram announcements channel. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please come over and support me on bit.ly/CryptoRich3Speak, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey, and also bit.ly/CryptoRichRumble. Why you should join me in those platforms is because I post material there about politics, about finance, about economics, about the stuff that's going on in the world, about health issues, about long-term weather patterns, all that sort of stuff that YouTube is a little bit touchy about. And I'd really appreciate it if you support me on those decentralized or censorship-resistant platforms. Okay, now this video is dedicated to my friend Richard Vobes, and it's actually a conversation that I've been having with him online and offline, but it's also something that I think many people are struggling with the emergence of Bitcoin. There's going to be more and more news about Bitcoin, a lot of it good, a lot of it bad. There's going to be more and more people asking and getting interested in Bitcoin as the price moves higher and higher and higher. We have the halving in April, probably around about the 19th of April, I've heard. So there's maybe about less than 60 days to go. Or maybe about 72 days. I don't know, right? But anyway, middle of April is likely when the halving is going to happen. So there's new supply that comes online will go from 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes to 3 1/8 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And it'll be like that for the next 4 years. Now, I watched this video with Jeff Booth, who is this, I don't know, Bitcoin guru or whatever. I had never come across him before, right? But it was a really great interview. He really knows his stuff about Bitcoin. A lot of it was technical, which I grappled to understand with. And I've been in crypto for a while now, so I don't know how easy it was for Richard. But the great thing about Richard is he's willing to have conversations with all sorts of people about all sorts of subjects. The other great thing about his channel is that he focuses on solutions. So you could say that my channel in some respects is about doom porn and about analysis and what's going on here and what's going on there. You know, it's got a harder edge to it, while Richard's channel is focused on solutions. Ways that we can promote decentralization, be self-reliant, sovereign, and he'll talk to people, you know, from food and common law and gold and cryptocurrencies and this and that and stuff, right? So I do recommend go check out his channel. I'll link to his ODYSEE channel in the description below, and you can also watch this video and learn stuff about Bitcoin. And Richard's position is, I think, very common. People get gold and silver. They get gold and silver because, well, it's been around for ages and ages. And it's physical, it's tangible, and you can do things with silver. Silver has the most industrial uses of any other commodity apart from oil. Gold doesn't have a lot in terms of industrial uses, a little bit in electronics, a little bit in dentistry, but the main industrial use, if it is an industrial use, is for jewelry. However, its primary purpose is money. Gold is the foundation of the entire monetary system. Everything is measured against gold ultimately. They don't necessarily want us to know that. They think it's the dollar. But how do we know that the dollar has value? Well, we know the dollar has value because it's measured against gold. And central banks around the world are buying, smart central banks are buying gold hand over fist. So Russia and China, for example, two of the largest gold producers, they're buying gold and they don't export any gold. So they're keeping theirs and they're buying extra. Other countries are also buying gold. Now, one of the objections or concerns or the things that people find difficult to get their head around with regards to Bitcoin versus gold and silver is that gold and silver are tangible. Not only do they have uses, they're physical. You can hold on to them. They're real. Well, the paper dollar in your pocket, or the paper euro, or the paper pound in your pocket also has physicality. So you can hold it, do things in it. You can do something with a credit card. That also has physicality, but that doesn't necessarily mean that just because it's physical, it has value. So the argument would be that because Bitcoin isn't physical, well, it doesn't have value. You know, how do you know it's really, really there? Well, non-physical things do have value. For example, Zoom. Zoom has value. Firefox doesn't have any physicality. It has value because it has utility. It can be used in a particular way. And Bitcoin as a digital good can be used as a particular way, in as much as that it's money. It has all the characteristics of money. And I've gone through that in a video with Richard. But very briefly, it's fungible. So one Bitcoin is pretty much the same as any other Bitcoin. It's divisible. You can divide it into up to 8 decimal points. So you can also divide gold and silver. It's scarce, unlike fiat currencies, which get printed away. Bitcoin is more scarce than gold because there'll only ever be 21 million. Gold, they're always finding more. It gets harder and harder and harder to find, but it's not finite in the way that Bitcoin is. But nevertheless, it's scarce. Fiat currencies, like I said, aren't scarce. It also has agreement. So more and more people agree that yes, Bitcoin is a store of value. It can be used as money and it can be used to transfer value. Now, the store of value is the other aspect of money. So you can hold value within Bitcoin. You can hold value within gold. You can hold value within silver. You can hold value in fiat, but fiat loses that value because it gets inflated away. The governments just keep printing it and thus it lacks scarcity and doesn't hold value so well. Bitcoin is also portable, so you can move it about. Gold and silver are portable, but not as portable. So Bitcoin is way more portable than gold. I could send money in the form of Bitcoin to somebody else, another part of the world, in a matter of minutes. Can't do that with gold or silver. I mean, it would take longer, it would cost a whole lot more, plus I'd be subject to government regulation and capture. And it's the same deal if I was going across borders. I could take a little bit of gold and silver with me, but then I'm at risk that it can be taken from me, or I'd have to pay some sort of import fee or something. Not the case with Bitcoin. I can take Bitcoin across borders without anybody knowing that I'm carrying Bitcoin with me because I don't carry it with me. I can memorize the seed phrase. I can have the seed phrase hidden away somewhere. And that's the other advantage that Bitcoin has over gold and silver, is that it's easy to hide. Nobody necessarily knows where it is or where I keep it, But with Bitcoin, but keeping silver and gold, well, how do you keep it? Well, you could keep it in a bank vault, but then it's subject to counterparty risk, which is that I'm vulnerable to this other actor, that they will act honorably, that the government won't capture or take away that gold or confiscate it. Not the case with Bitcoin. I hold the Bitcoin. I can hide the Bitcoin. Now, another thing that differentiates gold, silver, and Bitcoin as money from fiat currency is effort, the energy that it takes to produce gold, silver, and Bitcoin. It takes no energy, no effort, no time to produce currencies, fiat currencies. You just press a button, ping, another $1 trillion or whatever it is, right? With gold and silver, you have to dig them out of the ground. And that takes effort and energy that needs to be expended. It takes resources. So then you need a return on that investment of resources. Now with Bitcoin, there's this thing called mining, but don't get hung up on the mining. Really what that means is you use computer programs to run a code, a difficult calculation that every now and then, every 10 minutes, spits out a certain number of Bitcoin. And it takes effort and energy and resources to be able to run that computer code. That's what's meant by Bitcoin mining. It's really running a very, very particular and specific computer program that requires resources. In the same way as getting gold out of the ground requires more resources than getting potatoes out of the ground. Potatoes, by the way, aren't scarce. because you can just grow more. Okay. Now, another concern that Richard raises that many people have, and I've heard it a lot in the British truther community, at least the ones that I'm connected to, is, well, okay, so it's going to be Bitcoin, right? But which Bitcoin? There's this Bitcoin and that Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin SV, and I don't understand. And which one is the real Bitcoin? Well, it's the same thing, I think, with precious metals. There's rhodium and platinum and palladium and gold and silver, but which one is the real precious metal? And ultimately, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. What matters is what the market thinks. And the market is an aggregate of people buying and selling a particular form of money or commodity. And really, the market thinks that gold is the real deal. And why does market think it's the real deal? Because it's the one that the central banks purchase. It's the one that the big players purchase. Now, these big players, the central banks, are little more than people. They're just people working together for a common purpose within a particular organization, a particular setup. And with their analysts and everything and all the stuff that they look at, they buy gold. Now, personally, I think silver's a whole lot prettier than gold. It has more uses. It's going to run out. And perhaps at some point in the future, silver will be more valuable than gold because it'll be scarce because it's used up and has so many uses. But right now, the market values gold more than it does silver. Now, there are different types of gold. And Richard, I believe he knows that because there's fool's gold, and then there's 18 karat and 22 karat and 24 karat, right? Which one's the real gold? And also there's paper gold, because gold is manipulated in a way that Bitcoin isn't manipulated. And how is gold manipulated? Because they print certificates. They print certificates to depress the price. With Bitcoin, it's not so easy to do. It isn't traded like that because you have a choice between paper certificates or Bitcoin and address that you can examine because of its transparency. That one is valued. The one that people can see is the real deal and isn't just unbacked Bitcoin, like unbacked paper gold. Then the next question is, having resolved yourself or got that Bitcoin is a new form of money, and I'll come to that more in a moment, well, which form of Bitcoin? Some people say Bitcoin SV, some people say Bitcoin Cash, some people say Bitcoin, some people talk about non-Bitcoin cryptocurrencies like ETH or the stable coins or, Osmo, for example. Well, again, it doesn't matter what BSV advocates think or Bitcoin advocates think or BCH advocates think or whatever, right? What matters is what the largest number of people think. That's the market. And the largest number of people think that Bitcoin, also known as Bitcoin Core, is the real deal. And how we know that is because that's where they've put their money. They've voted with their money. And this includes the people at BlackRock, at Fidelity, and other large players who, with their specialist analysts, they can look at the code, they can look at financial projections and economic projections, and then they look at the infrastructure. And for whatever reason, they say, okay, we're going to put our money in Bitcoin, not BSV, not BCH, not Osmo, not the other ones. We're putting our money in Bitcoin. We think Bitcoin is the one that has the most value, even though it may not be the most technically proficient, even though it may not be the most advanced or the best one of the three. It has the most infrastructure. And what we're looking for, what we want, is financial sovereignty. We want to move away from government-controlled fiat currency where they can steal our energy, steal our labor by just inflating it away. Bitcoin represents the new paradigm in the evolution of money. So this cow represents barter. So what people did before was they would exchange things. Here's a little bit of beef. I need some potatoes. Let's do a swap. We'll work it out between us. Peer-to-peer exchange of goods that had utility. Now, what this chart misses out is the first forms of money were actual representations of those physical goods. So, for example, instead of a real cow that you're going to exchange for a bag of potatoes, you might have a little object that's fashioned in the shape of a cow that represents ownership of a cow. And so those physical objects, and then that moved to gold and silver as as money, but not actual coins, but nuggets of gold and silver. Okay, we can exchange those. And then that moved to the evolution of metal coins. Now, at any point, right, somebody could be here, right? Somebody with loads and loads of accounts, like, what's this new thing? Gold coins or bits of gold nugget. I can't eat a gold nugget. What do I want a gold nugget for? Could have been a viable objection. And what happened to those people? Well, they either exchanged it for gold nuggets, or they got left behind, stuck in an old system that was dying and was losing utility. Then you go from gold nuggets to gold coins. Now, wait a minute. This gold nugget is the real deal. Look, it's been unfashioned, untainted by human hands. What's this gold metal coin that has been made by somebody else, and therefore there's counterparty risk? So there's those sorts of objections. Then from metal coins, we move to paper money, which are the certificates that were used to represent ownership of gold. So instead of people carrying gold coins around with them, they held their gold coins with a gold dealer who gave them a certificate of ownership. And people started exchanging those certificates, and then they can go back and claim the gold. That was the idea. But then that introduced counterparty risk. So what the gold dealers did, and wait a minute, I've got 10 ounces of gold, that'll give me 10 1-ounce certificates, but why shouldn't I just make 100 1-ounce certificates? Because most people don't come back and claim on their gold. So they're now issuing certificates that are unbacked by gold. That's what fiat currency is. And that's the dangers of counterparty risk. Now, there are people who may have objected to using certificates, and they would have got left behind because everybody moved from using gold or silver coins to certificates. And sometimes that move was accelerated because the government said, look, you can't use physical coins anymore. You got to use currency. And because the infrastructure for using paper money just expanded, and that's all that was available. Then we went from paper money to plastic money in the form of credit cards and debit cards. And now we're at the point where, there are many, many outlets, all over, and increasingly so, that don't take paper currency. They want card payment or online shopping. You can't pay with a piece of paper, with a dollar bill or a £5 note or a €10 note. You've got to use digital money or electronic money, which was the next evolution. Now, with the electronic money, I include the bank transfers and everything. I also include mobile phone payments. And now we are at a crossroads. The next evolution of money, or the next new paradigm of money, it's either going to be Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, decentralized cryptocurrencies, or it's going to be CBDCs, centralized cryptocurrencies that are owned and managed by governments, where we have no freedom, no privacy, massive counterparty risk, and essentially we're going to be in a techno-feudal state. Now, Bitcoin represents financial sovereignty and freedom. It can't be controlled in the same way as CBDCs can. It gives us freedom to preserve our labor, our energy, the value that we create in the marketplace, free from government interference and censorship. See, the way the world is organized right now is we need money. We live in a complex society where we need to be able to exchange with others, because we're not entirely self-sufficient. I don't live on a farm where I grow my own and do everything by myself. I'm not off-grid. I need to exchange with others who can provide me with the goods and services that I need. I need money as an access to resources to provide for myself and for my family. Now, there are many, many people out there who knew about Bitcoin back here in December 2013 when it was $623, and they ummed and ahed, and then they finally moved in when it was $6,700. And there are others who ummed and ahed at this point, and then they finally moved in when it was $25,000. And there are others who are umming and ahhing, and then they moved in when it was $69,000, when there was all this crazy hype. And now they're in the red, and they're like, oh my God, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. But this is an early new technology. This is an early new form of money. Don't get left behind pondering and thinking about which one, that one, because meanwhile, the market is racing away. People are choosing. Bitcoin is more scarce than gold. Gold is not finite. Bitcoin is finite. And as more and more people move into Bitcoin, and that doesn't mean you can't move into BSV, you could have both. And that doesn't mean you can't move into BCH, Bitcoin Cash. You could have that and BSV and Bitcoin, but get into crypto. As more and more people get into crypto, more and more people will be free of the tyranny that threatens our livelihoods as represented by CBDCs. Get Bitcoin. Comments, questions, let me know in the description below. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. Please go and check out Richard Vobes' channel. And a shout out to Richard. Thank you so much for our exchanges. And maybe one day we can collaborate again, explore this conversation or many of the other conversations. Because he, like me, is awake to the Great Reset and the threat of CBDCs. This is Crypto Rich signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.